All righty. So let me set this up. Here we go. Okay. Hey, Anne, how are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. Well, thank you for joining us and for being here today. So it looks like we're live now on YouTube. What we will do is we'll give a few minutes for those that may be running a little late to the webinar, just giving them some time to join. So what we'll do is for those that are joining us here live today, go ahead and state where you're from, what you do, and we'll see where everyone's tuning in from. It looks like we have Vitaly, who is from Poltava, Ukraine. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Let's see. All right. Okay. All right. Looks like everyone's coming in through the feed here. All right. We have Joanne from Texas, who's a librarian. Oh, we have someone coming in from Toronto, Canada. Very nice. Special education teacher from Grenoble. Wow, cool. Are you seeing anybody, Anne, that's any of your friends, any of your colleagues on here?
I am not being able to see, so.
Got it, okay. All right, yeah, we have people coming in from Los Angeles, South Carolina. Got it, okay. All right, yeah, we have people coming in from Los Angeles, South Carolina. And if you want to go ahead and mute the tab, if you have the webmix open, or the live stream tab for YouTube open, if you want to go ahead and mute that, so that way there's no echo, it would be great. And alrighty, so we're a couple of minutes in here. Hello, everyone, welcome. We'll be waiting just a couple more minutes to give those that may be running a little late the opportunity to join. Right now, for those that are new here, go ahead and let us know where you're from, where you're tuning in from, and what you do, and we'll get started here shortly. Let's see, let's go down the list a little bit. We have a lot of Texas coming in. Texas in the house. Atlanta, Georgia. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have a reading specialist from Massachusetts. Awesome, awesome. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Yeah, and for everyone joining, we are recording the webinar. If everyone registered, you will be receiving a post-webinar email with resources that Anne will be sharing. She has a lovely slide deck that she's put together for the webinar today, which you'll be seeing shortly. You'll also be receiving a webinar replay link, which will be this entire recording here for you to access and reference back to at a later time if you can't stay the entire duration or whatever may be. So, I think we've given enough time. Anne, I'll go ahead and introduce you. Or actually, you know what? You can go ahead and introduce yourself and just get started. Let's get this ball rolling. So, Anne, actually sounds like you muted yourself.
Okay, now?
There you are, yes.
Okay, awesome. Hi, my name is Anne Lawyer. I work for Cradle to Career Literacy Center. I've been a special ed teacher for 15 years now. I'm also a certified academic language therapist, and I'm also licensed with SIRI as a structured dyslexic specialist. There's been a lot of talk about balanced literacy, science of reading, structured literacy. So we thought that we would put together a presentation on Symbaloo meeting structured literacy and give you just a simple overview. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Wonderful.
And Brian, can you see that?
I can. Everything looks great.
Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead. So
Sure.
We're going to talk about structured literacy. So a lot of people feel that this is very confusing and they don't know where to start. There's a lot of parts. People often need to know what I can start right away. And where can I go one place to start my science of reading and structured literacy journey? I know when I take classes, it's really important to me that I have something that I can take away. So I've tried really hard with these slides to add in some activities, some articles, some different things. And with the web mixes, you should have plenty of places that you're able to start. Often we are getting comments from teachers that they feel so far behind because maybe they haven't heard about science of reading or they're not familiar with it. So some of the things that I would tell you is just really be patient with yourself. We often think about students that we may have missed, that students we don't feel we did our best with, but we can only teach what we know. So today's starting your journey. And so what you know better today, you can teach tomorrow. We can't change everything at once. This is a journey. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you need to pick just one thing that you take away today, I would like you to do 5 minutes of phonemic drills, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And that can make such a huge difference in such a short time. Once again, this is a marathon, not a race. And just like when we make a house that starts with a good foundation, that's what we need to do with science of reading. And if any of you are a chef, which that's not my thing, but it takes a lot of practice. And for some of us, it takes more practice than others. So let's talk about why structured literacy. One of the reasons is our brains are simply not hardwired to read. Students cannot use guess and go techniques. Oftentimes, they've been exposed to other things where they might guess the letter, they might look at pictures, they might think about what makes sense. But eventually what happens is their student file cabinets get filled, especially about 3rd or 4th grade, and they really start to falter. These children have really relied on their listening comprehension to get by, and now this is starting to catch up with them. And we have to remember that reading must be explicitly taught. So in some ways, it's just like math with addition and subtraction. We teach phonemic awareness, then phonics, then decoding. So it's a sequence. The information that I'm getting this from, and I've put all my references at the back, but back in 2000, so this isn't new information, the National Reading Panel stated that students do need explicit instruction in all 5 areas of reading. We also need to be open-minded about the science of reading. A lot of us have been taught the balanced literacy approach, and we didn't know that there was anything else. So something that we've been taught to believe in for years, or we've had wonderful mentors, it's really hard to focus and to change. So, but that's something that's really important that we do. Just like with science and experiments, if we find out something does not work, then we don't want to keep doing it.
And I do want to interject quickly. For everyone that's here joining us live, if you do have any questions, we'll actually be holding a short Q&A, maybe 10 to 15 minute Q&A after the webinar. But please go ahead and type your questions in the YouTube chat box. We'll be collecting those questions and going down a list afterward to address anything that you're, any questions that you may have. But go ahead, Anne.
Yeah, so Brian, it's really important that they do ask the questions that they want. And if it's something that we can't get to today, then I will follow up with them because there's just a lot of questions, because this oftentimes is just something people may not have heard of. So one of the things we want to remember is there are 5 parts of reading. All those 5 parts must work together in order to have comprehension, in order for us to do spelling, and in order for us to do writing. So when we look at the simple view of reading, if we turn this into a math equation, decoding is the ability to apply sound and symbol relationships to words. We also need language comprehension, the ability to understand spoken language. So together, these create reading comprehension. Just like if we have 0 times a million, it still equals 0. That's the same thing that can happen with reading. If we do not have both parts of it, then reading comprehension will never be strong. So the first area that I'd like to talk about is phonemic awareness. And Mr. Brian has agreed to be my student. So I want to show you phonemic awareness is when we manipulate sounds in the words. And this was really hard for me to get down and how it was different than phonics. But phonemic awareness can be done in the dark. So it's simply the sounds, not the letters. So one of the things when we go in with kindergartners is we'll often do some of the beginning skills like isolation, blending, and segmentation. But some of those more advanced skills that come in first and second grade, if we do not have those, and if we do not have those in 2 seconds or less, then those students are unable to be proficient. I have included in my slide deck, there'll be a place that I've included a phonemic awareness lesson, but I thought that we would try it out. So Brian, are you willing to be my student?
Sure, let's go for it.
Okay, so in the isolation area, so my first word is dog. Brian, what is the first sound in dog?
The D.
What is not the letter, but the sound? Good job. Awesome. Now we're going to blend the words. If I say d, a, g, what word did I say?
Dog.
Good job. Okay, now we're going to segment the word and go the other way and say d, a, g. Can you do that with me? D, a, g.
A, g.
Okay, so we're about halfway up. Okay, now we're going to add some things. Brian, could you say og?
Og.
Now can you add a d to the beginning? What word do you have now?
Og. We have dog.
Good job. Now we're going to delete some sounds. So if we have the word sat, what word did I say?
Sat.
Okay, could you please take away s? What do we have left?
At.
Very good. And our last one is substitution. So say dog.
Dog.
Change the d to ul. What word do you have now?
Og.
So we have log. So as you see, they do get harder. And Brian did a great job, so we need to give him a hand. So this tells us some of the different phonemic awareness that we can do. Once again, I really want to emphasize, it's important to be accurate, but even more important than that, to be able to answer within 2 seconds. The reason that is so important is because when a teacher is reading and you're in your brain, you're changing all those sounds. If you are not able to do it in 2 seconds, you may be up at the beginning of the paragraph while your teacher is down at the end and you have missed all that information in between. So that's where we start seeing a lot of the gaps. And they're doing a lot of research in this area and really realizing how important phonemic awareness is. Okay, so let's go on to phonics. So phonics is where we put the letter with the sound. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. And Brian, are you willing to be my student again?
Let's do it again.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say sunshine. What word?
Sunshine.
And how many syllables does sunshine have?
2.
Okay. Now I'm going to say shine. What word did I say?
Shine.
Can you tell me something that rhymes with shine?
Goodness, line?
Yeah, that will work. All right. So these are little games that we can play. Sometimes it can be really hard for us to figure out in our lesson plans when we might add these different things. But I've added some activities, and some ideas for this would be to go ahead and do it when the kids are lining up, maybe when they're going to recess, when you're lining up for lunch. These are really important little skills that bring big rewards. So you could just pepper them with this all day, and doing between the phonological awareness and the phonemic awareness, it will really start to build a very solid foundation. Okay, another area that we talk about is vocabulary. It is so important with the students that I work with that they know what a prefix and a suffix is. For example, If I say suffix S, that means more than one. If I say suffix ED, that is something that happened in the past. So I have some students that are getting more advanced and they're pointing out, oh yes, this word means, and that vocabulary is so important to know because it adds to our reading comprehension. Morphology is another area. If we can teach our students those terms like mono, meaning one, micro, meaning small, when they start putting those words together, then they're able to have a lot higher reading comprehension. And I've included a school that had some really good vocabulary instruction. They're already laid out for you, so it might be something that might be good for you to try. The other area that is often sometimes can be contentious is fluency. It is really important that we read with a proper speed, that we raise our voice, we lower our voice. So a lot of times in school, and teachers feel this pressure for children to read fast. However, some of the students I'm working with read really fast, but they have no idea what they're reading. So I've included some articles about how fluency is more than just fast reading. Because if a student reads so fast, for example, on a loan, and they miss some of the critical points in the loan, they may end up paying a lot more money. That's one of the reasons that we want to make sure that this is an area that we focus on and not just fast reading. So with all of those put together, we definitely want to have comprehension. That's like our highest thing that we would want. Once the students can decode well, they have brain power to think about what they're reading. We want them to start with things like the main idea, like when we do the little red hen, we want them to be able to say about details. And something that's really hard for a lot of the kids is to summarize things, especially when it's nonfiction, and they need a lot of direct practice doing that. Also, inferencing, when we talk about it's raining cats and dogs, and using sayings like that. If we have students that are ELL, that can be really difficult. It really doesn't rain cats and dogs, but they may not know what that means. I've also included a lesson plan for comprehension. When I start looking at reading issues, one of the first issues is spelling. Sometimes we think if someone might have dyslexia or a reading problem, we should just be looking at the reading. But spelling, the reason that is a big red flag for us, it's because that's one of the first signs that something's wrong. So we need to go back to phonemic awareness. Can they break down those individual sounds? So, for example, D is voiced, T is not voiced. Often, when we have ED at the end of a word, my students will spell it with a T, and that is why they don't know the difference between voiced and unvoiced. Another common mistake is ch and j. They come from the same place, but one is voiced and one is not. And all those parts of reading must work together for writing and spelling to happen. We have heard the argument a lot of times that spelling is unpredictable. But the truth is that 85% of spelling is predictable. And if we can get students to 85%, that's usually a lot higher than they start with. And there are a lot of spelling rules that we can teach. Things like if you hear the k sound with an A, O, U, or another consonant, that would be a C. We would use a C for spelling. If we have the k sound with the vowels of E, I, and Y, then we would use the K sound. So just simply teaching the students those rules can really help them begin to spell and break down those sounds. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about is my district, but what happens when my district uses balanced literacy. So one of the things that we're finding is only, at least in our state, is only 46% of students are proficient. Another very startling statistic is students that are not at benchmark by 3rd grade with 70% of the time will not catch up without really intense direct intervention. And a lot of our students, by the time our literacy center gets them, I have mostly 14 and 15-year-olds this year. And it is heartbreaking to see these students that have been bullied and the difficulties that they've had because they're so brilliant. I have an 8-year-old that can write binary code, but you ask him to pick up a pencil and he hides under the table. So those things are so important for us to change. I also assessed an adult last week. She is 28 years old and she cried while I tested her because she reads at a 4th grade level. And we should not be doing that. If we find what we're doing is not working, that's so heartbreaking. So if you use balanced literacy and you're interested in science of reading, there's a lot of things that can be done. Things like doing the phonemic awareness drills. They can be done lining up for recess or specials. Sorting books not by level, but by topic or content. A lot of schools are approaching administrators asking for a class on science of reading. And possibly if you're taking your own data to show with phonemic awareness and with some of these other, like the QPS and some of these other phonics screeners that could be used, can you show progress? Also, we have several schools that are doing a book study on science of reading. One of my web mixes is on some of the professional reading books that you might want to choose. There are a lot. There is a Facebook group too that says what I wish I had learned in college. It is approaching 100,000 educators and in just a very short time. So this is definitely a movement that is going in the right direction. I also included an article for Ed Week that talks about balanced literacy versus science of reading. So an area that I specialize in is dyslexia. So this is a general term for disorders that involve difficulty in learning to read or interpret letters or other symbols, but it does not affect general intelligence. And I really want to stress that this is not a vision disorder. And we are able now to diagnose students by 5.5 with 92% accuracy. So when we hear teachers saying, oh, wait, he'll catch up, he'll mature, that just really isn't true anymore, because by the time they get to 2nd grade, they could already be 50% behind. It's no longer a good practice to sit and wait until they catch up. I got a call yesterday for one of these points that I made, that earliest preschool, this little girl is having trouble with rhyming, letter identification, and directionality. So we're already being able to see kids in preschool that may be having some difficulties that we may be able to identify early. And dyslexia, it's not something unheard of. Up to 20% of students have this. And I once again want to stress, this isn't intelligence. Some of my most smartest kids that are so good at knowing about tanks and cars and just things that I would never know about are so intelligent, but they just need a different way about it. And I included a website that has some general information if you're interested more in dyslexia. One of the best things, and one of the things I really want you to take away from this, is there are 6 syllable types. This is something that I did not learn even as a special education teacher. So for example, a syllable has 1 vowel sound. The letters of EE are 2 letters, so it's called a digraph, but it's still just 1 sound. So even if we just teach students about closed syllables, we could help a student read 65% of their words. So like I said, if you just learn a few things or look up some information in just a couple of areas, you can really make a difference for your students. So this is where Symbaloo comes in, and this is one of the reasons that we wanted to partner with them. Symbaloo has very visual links. It helps keep resources organized in one place. We can share these web mixes quickly and easily. We can share them to teachers, parents, and students. Oops, I missed one. And the reason that I do it is if you look at my desk, I have Post-it notes all over, but I've been able to get rid of most of them. Web mixes can be used for many different concepts. I have about 15 different web mixes I've put up for you guys to look at. They can be shared. We can create learning maps for teachers and students. So we can actually go through some of the web mixes and create little Google Forms to see what they know. We can put in all kinds of documents. We can put in movies. So we can create lessons that are really differentiated for students. These can be updated at any time. And since we have people here from all over the world, they can be accessed 24/7. And best of all, it's free as a basic version, and a teacher version. And Brian, you wanted to share this about how we can pin and follow.
Oh, yeah. So for everyone, with Symbaloo, yes, Symbaloo, we do have free and paid versions. Everything you're seeing, you can access for free. So we have two versions. We have the personal Symbaloo account, which gives you access to Symbaloo web mixes and tiles and general sharing. And we have Symbaloo Pro, which is also free for teachers via an ad-supported account, but it gives you the functionality such as a web space, which gives you a custom domain. And I'll share that here shortly here. But what I did want to share was, for everyone here, if you are interested in following Anne's resources or interested in doing a little more with Symbaloo, this is what it'll look like here. If you log into your account, for those that do have a Symbaloo account, you can access the or navigate over here to the column on the left-hand side, and there's a little empty bubble here with a plus icon. And that you'll see here, these are our verified web spaces. So as you see, we have the Cradle to Career Literacy Center web space here, and this is Anne's account here. So she's made this public, and we're sharing this here for everyone to be able to pin and follow this web space for you to access her resources. She'll be updating these from time to time. And again, it's a great way to just keep in touch and keep updated with all of the resources that Anne is putting together here. You can use this as inspiration for yourself, and just a great way to get started. So to mention a little more regarding Symbaloo Pro, you get your little custom domain as you see, c2clc.symbaloo.com. And yeah, that's part of the Symbaloo Pro account with web spaces feature here. So again, this webinar is being recorded, so if you do need help accessing this, you can go ahead and reference it back or reach out to us via support. But I just wanted to mention that so that everyone knows where to go and where to follow Anne and her great resources there.
Okay. Okay, so things that I can start today. One of the things that I want to go back and talk about too is that I didn't mention before, but a reason that we are so passionate at the Literacy Center is a lot of people don't know this, but 60 to 80% of people in jail have a learning disability, and most of them have dyslexia. And that is just so sad. Their life has changed so much to be in the jail system, and their life has just changed forever. So there are things that you can start today. Once again, those 5 minutes of phonemic awareness activities, there's a lot of books that you can get. There's a lot of little programs. There's a lot of little things that you can just look up and do on your own. Please just teach at least 2 of the syllable types. Teach open and closed, and you will be amazed at how your students come along. And start with me the Science of Reading journey by using the Symbaloo web mixes. I've put up teacher resources. I've put up videos and podcasts. I have lesson plans. I have free decodable books that I found. There's parent resources in both English and Spanish. And then I have put up web mixes in each of the different areas of reading, and I will be adding to those. So this is our contact information. You can reach us on Facebook. You can also reach us at c2clc.com. We offer teacher training and structured literacy. We can discuss data with school districts, and we offer literacy classes and testing for students. Right now, we're doing pre-K through adult on Zoom, and that has been really successful for us. Oops. And I just wanted to share with you, I made sure that I put all of my resources. So if you're interested in going back and reading more on those articles, and then I have also linked them in my slides.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anne. Alrighty, so for everyone joining us here, we'll go ahead and move forward with the Q&A section of the webinar here. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the YouTube chat box there, and we'll go down the list and answer any of your questions. We'll spend another 5 to 10 minutes here, depending on how many questions we get. And if not, again, you can always reach out to us personally. And we will be, for those that are registered or that have registered for the webinar here, you'll be receiving a post-webinar email with the resources you'll have and slide deck. You'll have additional resources from Symbaloo and a couple of outlets for you to contact us if you do have any questions for either Symbaloo or for Anne at Cradle to Career Literacy Center. So let's go down the list here and see what questions we've got going. So it looks like people are just saying thank you for the great tips, Anne. So thank you for the content. Yeah, again, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Brian from Symbaloo. We have Anne here with the Cradle to Career Literacy Center. Please go ahead, enter some questions here. We're here to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. So we'll give you a couple minutes. And do you have, I didn't really see it. Did you have your email listed in the slide deck or anything?
No, I noticed I didn't. I was going to type it in the message here. And maybe Derek can help us put that up. So it's just Anne at c2clc.com. So
sure. We can add, what we can do is we can add the contact information in another slide. So that way in the email that follows up after this webinar, everyone will have access to that. Yeah, that's a great way to go about it. Also, for everyone that did join us, we at Symbaloo also offer a PD hours training certificate. I know that there are some of you that are collecting hours and turning in certificates for trainings that you've done outside of, or your education there. But reach out to me directly, Brian at Symbaloo.com, and I can create a PD certificate here for the time that you spent on this webinar, so that you can submit for your professional development hours. Let's go down this list here, see if anybody has questions. Looks like someone's asking how Symbaloo works. That'll be a whole different situation here. We do have a YouTube channel full of tutorials and videos that you can take a look at, as well as a support desk with articles for you to learn how to use Symbaloo. Just look up the Symbaloo video or the Symbaloo YouTube channel. Actually, we'll post it in the link here, but you'll get all of that if you've registered. You'll have access to a getting started slide deck that we just put together. It's a comprehensive slide deck with about 60 slides showing you how to use basically every corner of Symbaloo. So please keep an eye out for that newsletter or the email after the webinar, and you'll see all that. Let's see, what do we have here? What is the name of the free Teacher Symbaloo account? So Brandy, the free Teacher Symbaloo account is just the Symbaloo sponsored account. You'll see that in the sign up page for the different plan types. You'll see a free version there. So go ahead and click on that. We never ask for any billing information up front, so you can just go ahead and kind of skip through any of the payment questions really. It'll have a green button that says get started for free. So go ahead and sign up and you can get started there. Hallie, hopefully I didn't butcher your name there. I believe she has a question for you, Anne. She says, are there specific tips for high school students struggling that I can use with the students?
Yes, morphology. I have junior high or middle school and high school students. I would really start with a morphology, just simply teaching them maybe the words like bio and geo, ology, ologist. If you maybe just did a word a week or a word a day, had them create a little notebook. One of the things that I've been doing with my students is you'll have to Google it. It's called Word Matrix Maker. And the students are able to use whatever the Greek or Latin writ is and add suffixes and prefixes to it, and you can screenshot it and print it. My kids have been really enjoying using that during lessons.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you, Anne. Let's go down a couple. I do have Jamie who asks if you would take us on a tour of your Symbaloo account with like different resources, showing us like helpful resources or some of your favorites maybe. Let me go through a couple of more questions and then I'll hand it over if you're okay to do that. That way you can kind of walk us around.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. So someone's asking, what can I do as an adult who has problems reading?
I have some adults that I work with, and we actually just go through and do the same things. Learning what the spelling rules are, learning what those syllable patterns is. If you have a vowel and a consonant, that is a short sound. So there's a lot of like just little posters that you can look up and learn to code your words. And once you learn to code the syllables, when you put them together as 4 syllables, it makes a lot more sense about how those words work together.
Okay. Awesome. Mila's asking how Symbaloo works with university teachers. That just depends. I mean, as you see Symbaloo, you can kind of work with it in various ways, from setting up a start page for your students to access various resources. You can set a webmix link as a bookmark, or if you're using Symbaloo Pro and you have a custom domain, such as yourclassroom.symbaloo.com, you can actually set that as a start page again to use as a springboard and link to different resources, or assign via Google Classroom if you're using that. There are various ways to use Symbaloo. It really just depends. We have a lot of teachers that are very creative and link to all sorts of stuff, and utilize a bunch of different tools in conjunction with Symbaloo. So if you do want to find out more, please feel free to email me, Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, @symbaloo.com. And I'd be more than happy to discuss different options and show you a few examples of what we have currently being used with Symbaloo. Let's go down a couple more here. Jennifer's asking, she would love to know if we offer any classes that would count toward our ACT 48 or ACT 48. I'm not sure if that's a question for Symbaloo or for you, Anne. Are you familiar with ACT 48 or ACT 48?
Can you have her type in what state she's from? That might be like their state hours that they need for teaching.
Yes, let's see. Jennifer, if you can type in the state that you're teaching, or if you have a question specifically for Anne, just look for that email.
Thinking, one of the just on my phone, I have it. One of the things that I sign up for is through the Pennsylvania Training Institute. I was able to sign up for free and take some classes. So that's a really good one. Also, the Florida Center for Reading, they have some different things too that are really a great place to get started.
Great. Thank you, Anne. Here's another question for you from Carol. Anne, I work with at-risk teens. What advice do you have for me?
Well, first of all, definitely create a relationship with them. If you have to talk about video games, talk about video games. If you have to teach the words, the syllables through video games or social media, I think that's so important. I think with having 14 and 15-year-olds this year, it's that bond is really important, because I've had the kids ask me questions about how to pronounce words, and that's so important because they don't want to be embarrassed in front of their friends. So really doing that, and I just can't stress enough, using those syllable types and that morphology is just so important. Anything that you can do with that is going to get them farther than they are now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anne. We have a lot of thank yous for the content you shared and for this webinar, which is great to hear and great to see. For those asking about the PD Hours certificate, there's a link in the chat box for you to request a certificate. So I'll go through those and manually mail those back to you. If you don't see the link there, or if you can't access it, please email me at the email listed there, bryan@symbaloo.com. Yeah. And I believe that's it. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. But Anne, I want to thank you so much for all the information you shared. This is great, very helpful, very valuable information that you're sharing here. And I'm excited to kind of share this moving forward as well. There are a lot of people that could use this, these resources and everything you're putting together. But really quickly, someone did want a little tour of your account. If you want to spend maybe a couple minutes or just a brief little walkthrough, that'd be great. Go ahead and share your screen whenever you're ready.
All right, so one of the things that Brian explained to me, this is kind of like a vending machine. So this is kind of our candy bars that we can get to. And once we get into there, then we get all the details. So I tried to color code these to make it easy for you to find whatever that you needed. So my teal color are things for teachers. So I have the Science of Reading resources, professional reading, podcasts and videos, decodable readers, and lesson plans. So let's go into this teacher readers. So we have here lesson structure from the University of Florida. I have some videos here from Anita Archer. We got to see her the other day. She is amazing and has done science of reading for a long time. I have one here on sight words and why learning sight words is not enough. Even if you're able to read every single sight word, that you still, without decoding, you're not able to have reading comprehension, which is really important to know. A lot of us have always put sight words on IEPs, and we need to be putting decodable words on there, not sight words. So that one, I have another one here for parents. It's often overwhelming when they find out their child might have dyslexia. The community I live in has a large Hispanic population, so it was really important to us that we provided information in Spanish, because sometimes it's just really hard to understand all those words in English. I also wanted to include our students, a lot of them that are older. I wanted them to know that there's options for them. So I've included different videos, different books, text help, Bookshare, some different things that might be helpful for them. Then I go through some of the individual areas like phonemic awareness. I've put lesson plans in here, some articles, anything that I thought that might be helpful that you could use. Here's one on vocabulary. I have Fluency here. And podcasts and videos. I thought that was really good because a lot of us don't have a lot of time, but we can turn something on in the background. So this is a really great place to start too. The last thing, if I can find it, I wanted to show you was the morphology. So this area, I just cannot explain how important this is. And this is an area that I think I've really grown as a teacher, not realizing how important knowing those word parts are. It just adds so much to how much a student knows. Brian, is there anything else you want me to share?
No, that was great. I think they just kind of wanted to see what you've got going on in your account there. But one important thing that I did want to mention for those that are looking to use Symbaloo and that will be using Symbaloo maybe moving forward in their classrooms or sharing resources with teachers or even parents, it's very easy to access these resources. You as the admin, or as you see Anne created all these resources, you can share that link, whether it be an individual webmix link, a preview link, or the custom web space domains such as c2clc.symbaloo.com. You share that with any of the recipients, your students, teachers, parents, whomever. They don't need an account to access those resources. So it's all publicly visible within that domain or within that link. Just think of it as like a kiosk mode, you know? So they'll be able to access all of that. They won't be able to like tamper with the resources that you put together. They won't be able to remove them or anything like that. Again, we just make it really easy to distribute content. So anyone that has that link, sets it as a bookmark on their personal device or school device, can then access all of those resources to get started. So again, very helpful. Other than that, I believe we covered everything. And if you don't have anything else to share, Anne, I mean, we can definitely go ahead and thank everyone and just log off.
Yeah.
Whenever
so Also, if they go to our website at www.c2clc.com, we also have resources on there that they may access for free. So
wonderful, good to know. Yeah, we'll be posting all those links will be in the post webinar email with everything else that we want to share with you all. So again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Anne, for being here and for sharing this wonderful content here. And we will see everyone on the next webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Anne directly. You'll get her email in the slide deck, or if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me at brian@symbaloo.com. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.
Bye.